Welcome back to another video on before ECIO. This one is on producing status progress reports for individual contributors, team, functional managers, for your project managers, and your executives. We'll go into talking a little bit more about each of these and what we can do on for these. Really, the value proposition for this is that you can, using the same background information, you can track all your action items, be able to put everything in, and then deliver it for different audiences. For each of those, once you produce your reports, and we'll show you some sample reports on this one, then you can convert them to .doc or XLS and email them around as you see appropriate. The nice thing about it is that if you ever need to go back to past reports or you just want to track what has happened to some of the items that you were doing in your reports, in your status and progress reports, then it's easily done. There is several formats. We're going to try to show you some of those, which can kind of serve for several of the different types of audiences or constituents that you may run into. So there's a couple of different ways to pick those up. Um, One of the way is just by clicking on your printer. It'll come up with a search, and then you can put in different types of searches. So what we've done here is we just put in a search for anything on status, and you'll see a number of different styles. Some of them that are more, if you want to keep things very simple, keeping the notes on it. If you wanted to make something a little bit more complex, you're tracking a little bit more detail. You're tracking a little bit more detail, then there's some different types of formats that you can use on that. And what it means is it still operates off the same information that you have within that. So you can do a search for status. Here's some of the statuses ones. If we did a search for progress, then here's some different progress reports that you can see. You can do a search on health, search on trend, and they'll bring up different types of reports. The other way you can do it is if you bring up and go into a deliverable, then there's a couple of different things as we're tracking action items, and we'll show you a little bit about how we can track some of them, make it easy for you to put in just specific information for your deliverables. So this particular icon just is for those action items really tied into the details within your action items, etc. on that side of it. This next one is more elaborate, more reports that tie into the deliverables, different types of deliverables, status, questionnaires, some scripting stuff. Sprint, we'll show you a couple of those. And then as you're probably aware of, then these are different elements that you can track for against your deliverables, KPIs, etc. And they end up showing in varying reports what you want to try to do. As we mentioned, we didn't do it here, but there is a section that you can tie into your favorite reports and you can put those in so you don't have to look through all of these reports within it. The other thing you can do is this capability to say, okay, what reports are level one within a maturity model. If you want to say, listen, we want to keep it really simple, up to a level 5. And those things can be adjusted so you can have scaled back these types of reports on this. Um, so just by double clicking progress report, it brings up our report writer, if there's deliverables, if there's any tables associated that may go into as input to it. Um, the the other aspect is if there's in some of the reports that you can put in your own comments that'll go on to the reports themselves on that. Um, The other thing we wanted to mention is that if you want to do quick adds, this is an example of going into quick adds. And if we wanted to go quick add action items, When we can do that, allows us to kind of quickly put in, what are categories, if there's dates on it, statuses, the deliverable, if you wanted to attach it to a deliverable. You can do a quick add-on to a deliverable on that. So there's a title and then any other description. If there's resources tied to it, status updates. So this is a quick way to kind of get your action items in through it. If you're looking at doing deliverables only, this is a quick way to say, okay, I've got a whole bunch of different types of deliverables. This is one way you can tie into a project, who off at the primary interest, who the owner is, and if there's a tie into the corporation. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of how you can start to add these things. Now we're going to show you that's the input part of the equation. Now we're going to show you a little bit about the output part of the equation, and we'll start. Now we're going to look at kind of four major audiences types. So individual contributors. We're going to look at the team or your functional managers that may be doing status reporting, your project managers and what you need to do in terms of status reporting, and then what would be sensible or what might be you could do for your executives. And this is, as we mentioned, we're going to be looking at only a very small subset of what we can kind of do on this. So there's something on sprints as well. So we're going to look at a simple one. Most of the reports are in kind of this format. You have a number of different buttons at the top that you can kind of print out. In this case, this is one of the simpler reports, who the audiences are, and this is driven by your agendas, and then who in this case, what the action item is, and then who the owner is, if there's a date on it, and then to what extent is an action item, is it something that we're tracking a little bit more in detail. The other thing we try to do here, so this is driven by agenda items. The other item that we try to do in some of the reports, and we'll bring up another one. I'm a little bit more complicated. This is status by date. Simple. It's a little bit, probably a little bit more involved than some of the other report. This is just by date instead of by agenda item. So this is tracking. Depends upon how you want to try to do it. So for October, these were some of the items that we needed to do. And it goes into providing some of the statuses. So process changes for addressing, in this case, these are some of the statuses that we've kind of shown on it. So this one gets into a little bit more detail within it. And then let's see, and we'll go into another one. This is a little bit more detailed status report. A little bit more sophisticated. A lot more information is being tracked. This is again from a team leadership. What do we need to do? Here's kind of the agenda topics for this. So this, if we scan through this, we'll scan to this may get into not only the action item, some of the comments on it, but also who else needs to be tied into finding out a little bit more. And because we can go in from both within our ECIO, we can go in and look at each one of these and find out if there's any action items that are still outstanding. And some cases, if we scan through this, we can put in our traffic light signaling green, yellow, whatever the case may be. And if we this one towards the end, one of the positive aspects of this particular report, and some of the other ones do have it as well. As you can see, there was a number of items that we're following up on, depending upon how we go through it. We will skip through those. And so if the deliverable had objectives, KPIs, other supporting ones. So in our meeting, if there's other items that crop up, then they would be shown here. We don't have any on this one, but one of the things I wanted to show you is the statistics here. And what this does is for your meetings, you can allocate hours. And then what your average cost is. And so you can start to track some of these. So as we add in action items, we add in people, then it starts to track those components and then figure out a total cost to us to say, okay, wait a minute, are we getting things accomplished to the extent that we thought we needed to get them done on that side of it. And the other aspects that we have here is we'll go into our project status report in some of the cases. I'm going to show you a couple of different samples of project status reporting. This one is on a tablet. Um, I'll show you another one which shows some of these other information that's filled in. So for this one, risk or issues are identified if we had them. Any communication events that may be tied to this project. The FTEs by the role when we're allocating them. So this is maybe a monthly report. So these were individuals that are involved in the tablet. Any other stakeholders that are tied into it. Some of the roles and what we're expecting out of that project on that. And then if there was any financials, we could show a little bit on that as well. So this is the same report as before, but in some cases it has a little bit different information just to illustrate it. So here's our statuses. If there was anything further explanation on a quick status, if those are the items you want to look at, some of the milestones, um, major activities. Again, this had some of the FTE loads in it, and then we have this is probably a standard report tablet. This gets into a little bit more statuses on it. This goes through kind of the accomplishments for your progress report. Remember, everything kind of can get tracked. And in this case, we're tracking this project, but we also are going by several deliverables. Okay, so accomplishments for this project here were some of the accomplishments planned but not accomplished. And again, this report is driven from a starting period, and I put in a duration of 60 days just to give you some idea on it. So during that time, this is what got accomplished. This is not what we did not get accomplished. And by various types of reports within this. Comments, any issues. If there was, here's some other meetings reporting that we want to try to do. And then here's the things that are accomplishing for the next period. So it'll take this first period as 60 days and then take the next 60 days and say, okay, what are we planning to do? Here's some upcoming events that may need to be looked at. Milestones, and if there's any issues or risks, then those would show up. Let's see, what else do we have? Here's project trend. This is just giving you an example of, again, if we're looking at trends, this goes through the statuses. So even though we're at green, we can see what has happened over the last little while. And if we had other trends, they would show up here uh, within it, so we can understand where we are and as a high level summary. So this might go to your executives. This report here, we've got a couple of different ones. This is a status report by resource. So for myself, the period, the start date. The other thing we can do with most of the reports is if there's a priority or if we're tracking. If we didn't want to track, we want to see the ones that were closed. So this is showing our active status. If there were some high priority items that we wanted to see, then we just adjust our priority according to what we have on our action items. And most of the time, our action items default to 50 as a priority on it, but it's whatever you would like to do. So this is by resource. Again, the resource picks it up by whatever deliverables that have been assigned on it. So this is accomplishments on it. These are not accomplishments or standard. Any issues, etc. on that side of it. So the work package is planned. If there's any issues or risks that were assigned to that resource, then they would also show up there. Let's see. We have there's, as I mentioned, there's here's a health report, and this goes through and just basically says tracks your action items by the health, so you can get a quick look at, and excuse me, and by the agenda item, so you can track on what's green or yellow, and track those particular by the deliverable, what are and different type of format, just to track what you need to worry about, etc. on that side of it. Gives you another way to look at. The other item, action item register, health progress. Here's agenda and meeting. There's all sorts of, as I mentioned, all sorts of different formats. So this one comes in and basically presents an agenda and some of the topics that'll be related to those items when we're going to talk about them, and who the owners are, what the topics, lunch breaks. So this was just for, I think, for release management, release planning, on that side. What else do we have here? Oh, a sprint. This is just ties into your deliverables, but allows you to show, for the story, if there's action items, what we need to do, who's doing what the level of effort. So in this case, this sprint here, there's a couple of stories, and then we can track what we need to do for each of those. And by whoever gets assigned can tack back to the story or alike within it. And then this just shows you again back to how many action items people have, and you can always tie those back to a velocity report, which we have identified a little bit uh, later. Executive summary. So this is an executive summary report. This is the executive summary report. Kind of gives an overall status. There was key accomplishments, key due tasks, if there's anything that's kind of what was due within it. If there's risk and issues, milestones. Again, this a little bit more detail. If there's metrics being tracked and what we need to do, so we can track those metrics, and see running totals. The other item here is by the type. We can figure out our level of effort and where effort is being both the hours, what are completions, are we getting the things completed like we expected, and then if there was a loaded cost rate, we could put that in through that. And then here's the resources and their allocation. In this case, this is showing that we've allocated 780 FTEs. Our average rate is about $55, and you can change these by each to what it's costing you. This is another one, I think, that just by date and shows you some of the details. And health program detail, the health report. We've shown you action on release planning, status, project trend report, status. So that is it for this video. Feel free to grab a copy of the product and have a look at some of the reports. We'll try to include some of the sample reports up on our website so you can have a look at those ones. and then see if there's things in there. One of the items I didn't mention was that because you're driving some of the deliverables, your action items, they can also be tied back to your timekeeping. So if you're looking at your timekeeping reports, like you can see the effort that's where it's been allocated, and then that should help you. That should also help you for your timekeeping if you're a consultant, the like. So hopefully this was of some benefit. Give us a shout. The our website and email addresses are coming up. Will be coming up at the end of this video, and look forward to hearing back from you.